Welcome to Behind Beliefs, Behaviors, and the Brain, your communication podcast, where we bring brain science and communication strategy together to transform how we lead, connect, and thrive. I am your host, Dr. Maisha Claiborne, mom, physician, coach, consultant, and lover of all things brain and behavior. I also happen to be a trained expert in cultivating trust and safety through trauma-informed communication. Now, you may be wondering, what the heck does that mean? No worries. On this podcast, you will come to understand it all. Together each Monday, we will explore and uncover what drives our beliefs, shapes our behaviors, and influences our communication, from individual relationships to organizational culture. Each week, we dive into the science behind trust and safety, relating, communicating, and breaking through limiting beliefs that hold us back. So listen up, because whether you're a leader, a parent, a spouse, or just some amazing individual trying to get the tips for operating in your highest self, on this podcast, you'll learn how to harness the power of the brain to create real change in your relationships, your leadership, and your life. Tune in every Monday morning, and remember to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now let's dive in and start reshaping communication from the inside out. It's time to transform one conversation at a time. Welcome back to another episode, and I'm excited to bring this topic today. And I know I say that every single time, but it's important to me when we are, as a nation, going through things, and even as individuals going through things, that I'm able to bring some perspective and some context, and even some tips and tools for you to take away and to chew on. And so today, as I thought about what I wanted to share, what comes to mind is what's happening in our nation that is impacting not only us here stateside, but it's impacting globally. And I wanted to talk a little bit about protecting our mind's focus. Now, there's so many ways I could go when it comes to psychological manipulation, and perhaps I will do another episode on this from the standpoint of person to person, individual to individual. However, as we look at social media, as we look at what's happening in our government, we're looking at all of the things that are coming out, the headlines day to day, the things that are being thrown at us. It is a lot. And so there's a lot of noise that we're having to manage as individuals. And as individuals, then we're expected to go about our work day to day and to perform at high levels. But it can be very difficult to do that when we are experiencing all of these things coming at us, often things that are detrimental to people who we're advocating for, or that are detrimental to people who we may even know that touch our lives personally, and particularly detrimental to the nation. People will continue to spit propaganda, and then these ridiculous executive orders that are coming out on a day-to-day basis. We're being flooded and overwhelmed by all of these things, plus the fallout that's happening from this. And so one of the reasons that I chose this topic of psychological manipulation and protecting the mind's focus is because we're in a space right now in our nation where there is quite a bit of psychological manipulation and psychological overwhelm happening intentionally. And it's important that if we are going to protect our mind's focus so that we can be who we need to be in our places of work, in our family units, and in our communities, that we understand what we need to do and how we protect ourselves in that process. And so the first thing that we have to do, and this is why I do the work of neuro-linguistic programming, and this is why I teach neuroscience-based communication, is we have to recognize the noise and distraction as noise and distraction. When you're on these platforms, when you're reading the news, when you are looking at TikTok or whatever it is that you're looking at, and all of these things are coming at us, It cannot feel like we're educating ourselves, but and it can be that we're learning some things, but we have to recognize that a lot of the headlines and a lot of the things that are going on are distraction and noise. And that distraction and noise is meant to wear us down. Now, we could talk about this in the context of what's going in our nation, but as you listen to this, you can listen to this at multiple levels. You can listen to this at, where is this happening in my own personal world? Where is this happening in my job? Where is this happening in my family or in my relationships where there's a lot of distraction and noise? And that is meant to wear us down. But particularly, I want us to recognize that this is happening at a very large scale right now. And so when we start to recognize distraction and noise as distraction and noise, then we can begin to look at what are the structures that we need to protect that mind's focus. And one of the first things we need to do is turn the volume down. What does that mean? Turn the volume down. Well, it might mean that you turn off the news and pick one or two places to stay informed about what's going on. And maybe it's not going down the scroll rabbit holes, but maybe it's reading headlines. Whatever it is that works for you, to turn the volume down. It also may mean limiting the amount of social media or engagement that you have in groups, on platforms, or in certain conversations. Turn the volume down. The second thing is to create focus practices. And that can mean a little bit of sensory deprivation. So for me, what that looks like is yoga practice 4 days a week and meditation 5 days a week, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes. I put earplugs in and sit on my meditation couch and set my timer for 15 minutes if I have it, 20 minutes if I have it. Sometimes it's just 10 minutes to have just a little bit of sensory deprivation. For some, that focus practice may be dance. For some, it may be running. For some, it may be working out. For some, it may be, it could be music, listening to music or reading. But create your practice that sort of helps to bring you back to yourself. All right. And so, whatever that practice is, engage in that daily. I also engage in gratitude daily. There's some benefit in gratitude. And I engage in intentional joy and intentional laughter, intentional play as a form of resistance to all of the things that are trying to weigh us down. Okay. And this is not me being Pollyanna or bypassing. It's just, how do we like maintain our sanity and our focus in a time where we are being inundated and bogged down and overwhelmed with bad news? So then once you've turned the volume down a little bit, even if it's temporarily, and created your focus practice, it allows you to reconnect with yourself and what your own circle of influence, what your own focus is. So, what is mine to do? I look at with all of these things, I want to change everything. I want to save the world. But what is mine to do? What is my area of expertise? Where is my circle of influence that I can create a ripple that can make a difference? Reconnect that with yourself. And finally, I can't say this enough. If you've ever listened to past podcasts, if you've ever listened to me on a guest podcast, and people ask me what's the number one thing, and that is connecting in community. And that's not just any community, but the community that empowers you, the people who pour into you, the people who remind you of who you are. All right. And this is one of the ways that we protect our mind's focus, that we get back into ourselves, no matter whether this is from work, whether it's in our families, whether it's you're dealing with the global nation. And quite frankly, you're dealing with all of these things. You're dealing with all of the things that are coming at us from what's going on in our nation to how that it trickles down to our communities. And then we have to deal with our own individual problems or issues or challenges that we are navigating on a day-to-day basis at work and at home. So these are a few practices that you can put in place to be able to stay connected to yourself and to find joy and to protect your peace, as they say, but also to protect your focus so that you can continue to move forward productively day to day. All right. And so I just wanted to bring this to you as a way of being empowered. And I ask you and invite you to please share this with someone, share this with a friend, a family member, a colleague, and leave a review if you thought this was helpful today. But I think it's important that if we're going to move the needle in resisting some of the challenges that we're dealing with as a nation, just resisting some of the harm that's being done and reversing some of the harm that's being done, then we have to ourselves be ready and be poured into. We cannot be operating as a cup with a hole in it. Otherwise, we will constantly be burning out. And it doesn't work if we're going to be making a difference in our communities. So you know how to get in touch with me if you would like me to come into your organization and facilitate a conversation around navigating challenging spaces and difficult conversations and sensitive conversations. If you want me to come into your organization and talk about communication that builds trust, you can reach out to me directly through my website or on this platform that you're listening. And I'm happy to come and facilitate workshops and conversations. And then, of course, if you are an individual and you need help reconnecting into yourself, please reach out to me. I still love to do that one-on-one work. It's my I think my heart center. And so from that, I leave you, and please share this episode, leave a comment, and until the next time we see each other, stay empowered. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. We truly appreciate our listeners because without you, there is no podcast. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode and that it gave you fresh insights and practical tools to elevate your communication and build trust and safety in all areas of your life, from leading your teams to strengthening your relationships at home. If today's conversation resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast, share this episode, and leave us a 5-star review. Your support helps us reach more people looking to enhance their relationships, their leadership, and the communication in every area of their life. If you are ready to take your communication to the next level, I encourage you to check out our Communication That Transforms online course. This course dives deep into creating psychological safety, mastering trauma-informed communication that allows you to build behavioral flexibility and tackle any circumstance in your life. You'll learn practical strategies for handling difficult conversations, navigating conflict, and cultivating trust in a way that truly resonates with the people around you and leaves them feeling seen, heard, respected, valued, and welcome. This course is designed to help you transform not only how you lead, but how you show up in all your relationships, whether in the boardroom with your teams or at home with your family. Check out the course at mindremappingacademy.com/TICC to learn more, see the full course catalog, and register. This link will also be in the show notes. That's www.mindremappingacademy.com/TICC. Finally, if these topics resonate with you and you want to bring them to your department, your team, or your organization, I'd love to speak with you. Reach out to me and invite me in for a workshop or a conference tailored to elevate your organization's trust, collaboration, communication, safety, and belonging. You can learn more and reach out to me by visiting mindremappingacademy.com/corporate-programs. Remember, change happens one intentional conversation at a time. With one small shift in how we connect, listen, and lead. Keep listening with intention and communicating with clarity. And until the next episode, stay empowered.